3 of my favorite. Long hold, deep stretch, yin style poses or shapes. Start with dragon. 1 foot forward, opposite knee back, hand to block perhaps. Great way to employ a prop. Block to any height. I have the block to the inside of my front foot. Hand to floor. Or forearms to block. Again, taking the block down to any height that's appropriate for you. Now, if your back knee is giving you fits from being on the floor, then have a blanket handy. Set your back knee onto a blanket. Give yourself the cushion that your body requests. And you'll hang in this pose for 3 to 5 minutes. Might not seem like much out of the gate, but I assure you, after minute 3, it'll be a completely different sensation. My front foot, I have all 4 corners of the foot down on the mat. Now, a second variation of dragon that I love, twisted dragon. Again, classically, the hand is on the floor, other hand is on the bent knee, and we gently turn ourselves into the twist. Oftentimes, this front knee will go into a bit of an external rotation. It's fine. Let the knee move out into external rotation. The femur bone roll into external rotation, still keeping the 4 corners of the front foot to the floor. Hand can be on the floor, which is kind of intense for the wrist and the shoulder of this straight arm. So you can also bring your hand to a block, gently turning in the direction of the bent knee. Lovely action for this front hip, for this back hip flexor, for the quadriceps and the psoas, bringing the thoracic spine into the picture, the shoulder girdle into the picture as well. And again, should you go into twisted dragon, and I hope you do, you'll want to stay for 3 to 5 minutes, allowing the front knee to move out to the side, allowing the front femur to go into an external rotation, keeping the 4 corners of the foot to the floor. Straight armed hand, either on the floor or a block, and then slowly twisting in the direction of the bent knee. Now, some people who like to amp things up, and you know who you are, might take this straight arm and bend the elbow and bring that forearm to the floor or to their block, taking this down a little bit deeper. There you go, 3 to 5 minutes in twisted dragon. The exit, as with all yoga, but especially with these deep stretch shapes, exits are always slow. Slow and low is the name of the game. So there you go. First pose, number 1, that I adore and put into most of my deep stretch sequences is dragon. Then moving into twisted dragon. Second top stretch that I love is Sphinx. Sphinx moving into seal, if you're so inclined. So we can begin Sphinx, flat on the belly, toes pointing straight back, forearms on the floor with the elbows placed underneath the shoulders. A little bit of a compression to the lumbar some compression into the kidneys and the adrenals. Now, if there is back pain, if there is back injury, whether that's past or recent, be mindful this pose might be contraindicated for you, because you'll stay here for 3 to 5 minutes. Some options with props would be to bring a block out front and rest your forehead on the block. So it takes the strain out of the neck, the shoulders, and the jaw. And that's really nice, actually. Another option to employ the use of props would be either a blanket or a bolster underneath your belly. Belly and low ribs, just kind of helping you up a bit. Sphinx pose. The forearms make the number 11. They're parallel to one another. Now, when we move into seal pose, I'm going to simply pivot on my elbows, take my hands to the top corners of my sticky mat, and straighten my arms. Now, this intensifies the compression on the lumbar vertebrae. So again, I will caution you to proceed slowly with caution and compassion. You can walk the hands towards your bolster if you'd like a bit more extension through your spine. 3 to 5 minutes. You can set your timer and let her rip. Okay, there we go. Couple of options for your spinal extension in the deep stretch practice. And then lastly, my favorite pose of them all is called saddle pose. This is definitely more intense, and it's not for everyone. It requires a good deal, an extraordinary amount of flexion in the knees. For many of us, it could be a little too compressing in the lower back, and I will say, when I first came to yoga, due to a back injury, there's no way I could have or would have attempted this shape. But I want to give it to you, to those of you who want to try something a little more randy, if you will. So when we go into saddle pose, knees are flexed deeply. Knees are apart. I'm going to come down and have a seat on the insteps of my feet. Slowly rock back onto my elbows one at a time. Check in with my lower back. Make sure I'm not experiencing any agitation, discomfort, or pain. And if I get an all systems go, then I'm good to continue my descent, coming all the way down to my shoulders, the back of my head. So as you can see, fairly significant lengthening of the quadriceps, so as the hip flexors, the rectus abdominis, especially if I choose to take my arms over my head, either stretched out beyond me or bent at the elbows, taking opposite hands to opposite elbows. So yeah, good one. I like to stay in this one again for 3 to 5 minutes. Once I became acclimated to this shape and started incorporating it into my weekly deep stretch or yin style practice, I stay in it for 7 to 9 minutes. Now, that's intense. I recommend working up to that. The exit is to come up onto the elbows, just lifting the heart and the head so I can see towards the end of my sticky mat, give my back a minute or two to reassess, and then I can walk my hands back and come up without too much wobbly from side to side. And then I can roll to one side very gently, extend my legs slowly. Boy, the flush of blood and fluid that courses through the back of your knees and down into the ankles and feet feels pretty phenomenal. So what would be a modification for this? Well, we could put a bolster behind us. In fact, make it even a little more accessible by making a ramp with a block underneath the head of the bolster. And then going into the same shape with our legs, maybe even putting a pillow underneath our head. So it takes some of the heat out of the lower back. It takes some of the extension out of the spine to have the bolster ramped up in this way. Now, if the knees and the ankles just aren't going to have any of this, then really your best bet is to ditch this shape. And if you're in a class, a deep stretch or a yin class, and the teacher says, okay, we're doing saddle pose next, and you know, because you've watched this video, what it is and what it entails, and you know your body disagrees with that, then you the boss of you. And you can just simply come into a reclining bound angle pose of sorts, just crisscrossing your legs, still getting an opening through the anterior spine, which is significant in saddle pose, still getting a bit of an opening through the hip flexors, and here you go. Here's your shape. Okay? You take it easy on yourselves. Be gentle. Be compassionate. Be cautious. And be kind.